Springboks against the All Blacks then, rugby's greatest rivalry just a few days away. I'm so jealous, by the way, of anyone that has tickets for this game. The rest of us, I'm sure, are going to be glued to our TVs to enjoy it and to watch it. And the All Blacks have released their team. We're accustomed to the Springboks naming the team on the Tuesday. The All Blacks have now named their side, and that is what we are talking about in this video. So welcome back to the channel. Put a comment down below. Let me know what you make of this All Blacks team and what you make of these two matchday 23s when you put them side by side, and where you think this test match is going to be won. Whilst you're doing that as well, like the video, subscribe to the channel, but I'm going to launch into it because the top line for me from Scott Robertson's team selection is experience. It's Scott Barrett returning in the second row, and it's Sam Cane starting in the back row. A selection decision which I think is going to polarise some people. Sam Cane has been that sort of selection for a while for the All Blacks, even whilst he was the captain and we knew he wasn't going to get dropped. But he comes in and starts, and this is all about experience. This is all about a New Zealand team at the start of their journey under a new coach who have had kind of mixed results and mixed performances so far this year, going away to the World Champions, to Ellis Park, one of the toughest venues, one of the toughest matchups you could possibly have, and them needing the experience. What is it, 97 caps this will be for Sam Cane, plus you've got Scott Barrett returning to the team. Whatever you think about Sam Cane, I think in terms of the logic that Scott Robertson is deploying here and wanting someone, a veteran on the field who's captained the All Blacks, who's captained them in a World Cup final, in your back row, from that point of view, I think this selection makes a huge amount of sense, ultimately. One of the other things I think that Scott Robertson is going for here, in fact I know he is because he mentioned it a fair bit in his press conference he did, is combinations. So the back line itself is completely unchanged, and in particular 9 and 10, TJ Perenara and Damian McKenzie, keeping that combination together. What he's also said is Cortez Ratimer, he likes what he brings off the bench. They like the difference there between those two players, with TJ Perenara and his experience starting, and then you have kind of the pace, the less experience of Ratimer coming off the bench and how he can try and impact the game later on in the latter stages. Something similar actually, or exactly the same as what the Springboks have done in their team selection. So combinations are absolutely key. And again, that is something that makes sense at this part of the evolution for this New Zealand team. They haven't had that many test matches together under the new regime. 2 decent wins against England where the performances were, I suppose you'd say, good enough, some really good stuff, some other areas where they needed to shore up. A defeat to Argentina, and then a really commanding victory against Argentina. So I think keeping the squad more settled in that regard makes sense, rather than completely changing it and changing combinations and unsettling it before a really, really big game this weekend. So you look at that whole back line, and it is continuation of the combinations and a lot of quality, actually. In fact, throughout the sprint, certainly across the All Blacks starting 15, there is a lot of quality there. As I want to get onto now, though, is the bench. Because it is going to be crucial, as it always is in any test match, but in particular when you're playing the Springboks and the strength and depth that they have. I think in particular the forwards. That's where I look at the benches, and I look at the likes in the Springbok team of, you know, Malcolm Marx and Eben Etzebeth, Vincent Koch, Quagga Smith coming off the bench, compared with some of those names for the All Blacks. And I just wonder whether this could be the area that the Springboks have a real edge. It was key for New Zealand against England. It was an area of the game where the test match quite literally turned with some of their replacements. Beauden Barrett in particular, who's now starting, not coming off the bench, had a huge, brilliant impact in that series. I'm slightly fearful for New Zealand at the weekend in that regard, of if the replacements are going to have as big an impact as they're going to need to have. But we'll wait and see. As I've said already, the strength in this team, I think, is actually really clear. When you look at some of the players and you look at the squad they're still able to select, yeah, I think it's strong. I think it's very strong. I think when you put it against the Springbok team, yes, the Springboks are going to be favourites, but I think this is an All Blacks team that can change a few people's perceptions, shall we say. It's going to be tough for them, but I think they're in a pretty good position. The final point that I wanted to mention, actually, and I've said already how I watched Scott Robertson's press conference. Don't know how many of you would have seen that, but did he seem more relaxed to you? To me, it felt like he was. I know at his, I think it was his unveiling press conference for the All Blacks kind of head coach role, where he had his pre-planned scripted part, and then in the interview after he said, I'm better off script. He's not really the most comfortable in those settings. And I think there have been times where he's looked a bit nervous in the opening weeks and months of his tenure, but he just seemed more relaxed from me. I wonder whether he's settling into the role. And I think he probably loves the challenge of this team going to South Africa with all that will be against them. And what a challenge, what a great challenge for this All Blacks team. And if you are the more experienced players in that dressing room, if you're the Sam Canes and the Scott Barretts and the Bowden Barretts and Rico Ioane, all of those guys, you're saying what an opportunity this is for us. Coming away to South Africa and making a bit of a statement. It won't be easy at all. The Boks will be firing. This is a matchup that you know means a huge amount to them and a massive game in the context of the whole Rugby Championship. But I just think what an opportunity for this team. And I think Robertson is embracing that. I just wonder whether that is part of the reason that he just seemed a bit more relaxed. To me, anyway, that would be one of my takeaways. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you make of the team. Let me know how you see this game going. I'll try and do a preview video before the weekend as well. But I look forward to reading your comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel whilst you're here. I'll see you in the next one.